I was a confident 7-year-old walking with my older cousins. We were lost together, looking for my mother and Tia. The annual livestock show always stunk of caucaca and hay. It was held on acres of fields outside of Mercedes, Texas, about 10 miles from Edcouch, my hometown. Half the livestock show was just that, livestock, cows, pigs, and piles of caca. The other half was covered with carnival rides, spinning and flipping with happy screams. There were people everywhere, and we decided to split up and meet at the House of Horrors. My cousin and I walked for less than a moment, and then I lost him in the crowd. But I wasn't worried, because I found myself in front of a carnival game. People with big zipper-right smiles tossing nickels onto colorful plates. The coins would make beautiful champagne glass clicking sounds and skip off the shiny plates. Then there was a cotton candy machine, whipping pink string around paper sticks. The sweet aroma pushed away the dry livestock stench, and my mouth began to water. But I had no money. That's when I remembered that I was lost. I walked to the House of Horrors and looked around, but I didn't see my family anywhere. I waited for what seemed an hour and began to worry. The spooky laughs from the House of Horrors gave me a cold chill, and I decided to walk to our family car and wait for my mother. My father was in the National Guard, and he was assigned to parking cars. I thought maybe I'd see him directing traffic. The parking lot was a dark dirt field covered in cars. The farther I walked away from the carnival rides, the more the screams sounded terrified. I found our car and sat on the roof, letting my legs rest on the windshield. I hummed a little bit, trying to drown out the swirled screams and twisted carnival music, but it was no use. I began to sniffle, and then the tears rolled down my face. I was lost, and no one was looking for me. I walked back to the carnival crying. Now everything was a blur, and then I heard glass shattering into laughter. I saw two boys throwing beer bottles at a telephone pole. I stopped and stood, still crying, with my head being raised by my heavy sighs. They stopped laughing and walked up to me. I noticed they were smoking. One of them took a slow drag and let the smoke pour out of his mouth. The smoke surrounded his face, and he leaned out of the cloud over me and asked me in a gruff voice, "Hey, little boy, you lost?" I looked up at the dark figure and nodded. "I can't find my mother," I said. They looked at each other, but I couldn't see their faces. One of them took a final drag of a cigarette, making the end of it a fire red that reflected in his eyes. Then he flicked it into the darkness. He put his hand out, and though I was afraid, I reached out. The other boy took my other hand, and we walked into the bright carnival lights. They walked me to the lost and found booth, and they told the lady they found me walking around the parking lot. The lady smiled, and then a policeman walked up, and the two boys bolted like rabbits. The policeman shouted and chased them. Then my mother and father appeared. They were arguing over who should have been watching over me. That's when I realized I had angels watching me.